The cold bit through Jinwoo's thin jacket as he walked through the marketplace. The artificial lights above flickered, casting strange shadows on the metal walls. This was the lower district of Nexus Station 7, where the air always smelled like rust and recycled oxygen. Where people like him tried to survive on scraps, Jinwoo pulled his jacket tighter. His stomach growled, reminding him he had not eaten since yesterday morning. In his pocket, he had one universal credit. Just one. Tomorrow, he would need to buy a meal ration, or he would not eat for another 2 days. Maybe 3. The marketplace was nearly empty during the night cycle. Most vendors had closed their stalls. Only a few dim lights remained on, powered by generators that hummed in the background. Jinwoo knew this path well. He walked it every night, returning from the repair yards where he searched for work that never came. He passed by the ventilation shaft, where warm air sometimes escaped from the station's heating systems. Many people gathered there during the cold cycles. But tonight, most had gone to find shelter elsewhere. The station administrators had reduced heating to the lower districts again. Saving energy costs, they said. Saving money was more important than saving lives. That was when Jinwoo saw her. A small figure sat huddled against the ventilation shaft, wrapped in what looked like torn fabric. She was shaking. Not the normal shivering that humans did in the cold, but violent tremors that shook her entire body. Jinwoo stopped walking. He should keep moving. He should ignore her like everyone else did. This was how things worked in the lower districts. Everyone had their own problems, but he could not look away. He moved closer and saw she was not human. Her skin was pale blue, almost like ice. Her features were delicate, almost crystalline. She looked young, maybe 20 in human years, though with aliens it was hard to tell. Her eyes were closed, and her lips had turned a darker shade of blue. She was dying. Jinwoo knelt beside her. The cold from the metal floor seeped through his pants. He touched her shoulder gently. Her skin was ice cold, colder than anything should be. She opened her eyes slowly. They were silver, like mirrors reflecting the dim lights. "Help," she whispered in a language he did not understand. But he understood the meaning in her eyes. Jinwoo looked around. Across the pathway, he could see a vendor's stall still open. Old Tarek, the Balvarian merchant who sold emergency supplies. Jinwoo knew what he had to do. He also knew what it would cost him. He walked to the stall. Tarek looked up from his datapad, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence. "Human, what do you want?" Tarek's voice sounded like grinding metal. "Thermal blanket. Emergency grade." Tarek's eyes focused on him. 1 credit. Jinwoo reached into his pocket. His fingers closed around the small metal disc. His last credit. His only credit. He placed it on the counter. Tarek took the credit and handed him a compact package. Smart purchase. Temperature drops more tonight. Jinwoo did not respond. He took the package and returned to the girl. She had not moved. Her shivering had become weaker. He opened the package and activated the thermal blanket. It unfolded and began to glow with gentle heat. He wrapped it around her carefully, making sure it covered her completely. The blanket's heat sensors detected her body temperature and adjusted automatically. Within seconds, the shivering became less violent. The girl opened her eyes again. This time, they focused on Jinwoo. She looked at him, then at the blanket, then back at him. Confusion and shock filled her expression. "Why?" she asked in broken galactic common. "Why you help?" Jinwoo shrugged. He did not have a good answer. "You needed help." She stared at him for a long moment. Tears formed in her silver eyes. "No one helps. Not here. Not anywhere." "I am someone," Jinwoo said simply. The girl tried to sit up, but her body was too weak. She moved her arm, and that was when Jinwoo saw it. Beneath the dirt on her forearm, something glowed faintly. A mark, a symbol. He had seen that symbol before, on the public broadcasts from the government channels. It was always blurred out, classified information, but he recognized the pattern. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. The girl's eyes widened in fear. She tried to pull her arm back, but she was too weak. "Please, do not tell. They will kill me." Jinwoo heard footsteps in the distance. Heavy boots on metal floors. Security patrol, or worse, hunters looking for bounties. He made a decision. "Can you walk?" She shook her head. "Then I will carry you." Jinwoo picked her up. She weighed almost nothing, as if her bones were hollow like a bird's. He wrapped the thermal blanket around her tighter and began walking quickly toward his apartment building. It was 6 levels down, in the deepest part of the human quarter. The girl whispered something he did not understand. Then she passed out completely, her head resting against his shoulder. Jinwoo moved through the shadows, avoiding the main pathways. He knew every shortcut in the lower districts. He had lived here for 5 years, ever since his transport ship had broken down and left him stranded with no money to leave. He knew which corridors had broken cameras and which ventilation tunnels could be used as passages. 20 minutes later, he reached his apartment. It was small, barely large enough for his sleeping mat and a small cooking unit. But it was warm enough, and the door locked. He laid the girl on his sleeping mat and adjusted the thermal blanket. She was breathing easier now. The blue color of her skin had lightened slightly. She would survive the night. Jinwoo sat on the floor and leaned against the wall. His stomach growled again, louder this time. He had no food in the apartment, no credits to buy any. He would be hungry tomorrow, and the day after that. Maybe longer. He looked at the girl sleeping on his mat. He did not know who she was or why she had that glowing mark. He did not know what trouble he had just brought into his life, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He had done the right thing. Outside, the cold grew worse. Inside, wrapped in warmth, a princess slept, and a human mechanic sat hungry, wondering what tomorrow would bring. 2 days passed. The girl slept most of the time, wrapped in the thermal blanket that kept her alive. Jinwoo went out each morning, searching for work that would pay him enough to buy food. He found nothing. The repair yards did not need extra workers. The factories were full. Even the recycling centers turned him away. He came back each evening hungrier than before. He gave the girl small amounts of water, which was free from the station's public taps. But he had no food to share. His own stomach had stopped growling. Now it just ached with a dull, constant pain. On the 3rd morning, the girl woke up properly. Jinwoo was sitting by the small window, watching the artificial sunrise that the station projected on its walls. He heard her move and turned around. She was sitting up, the thermal blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Her silver eyes were clear now, no longer clouded with pain. She looked at him for a long moment. "You stayed," she said in Galactic Common. Her accent was strange, musical. "This is my home," Jinwoo replied. "Where else would I go? You gave me your bed. Where did you sleep?" Jinwoo pointed to the floor where he sat. "Here, it is not so bad." She looked at him with an expression he could not read. "You are very thin. When did you last eat?" "I eat enough." "That is a lie." She looked around the tiny apartment. "You have no food here. You spent your last money on me." Jinwoo did not answer. What could he say? That it was worth it? That her life was more valuable than his hunger? These were not things people said out loud. Before she could speak again, someone knocked on the door. 3 quick knocks, then 2 slow ones. Jinwoo relaxed. That was Minho's signal. He opened the door. Minho stood there holding a small container of food rations. His friend looked worried. "I heard you have not eaten," Minho said, pushing past Jinwoo. "I brought some extra from my shift meal." Then Minho saw the girl. He froze. The container almost fell from his hands. "Jinwoo," Minho said slowly, not taking his eyes off the girl. "Do you know what she is?" "An alien who is freezing to death. She is Velustrian." Minho's voice was barely a whisper. "From the sovereignty sector. They are one of the richest species in known space." The girl pulled the blanket tighter around herself. "I am called Lyra." Minho moved closer. His eyes fixed on her arm where the glowing mark showed. His face went pale. "That mark," he said. "I worked on luxury ships before I came here. I have seen that mark. It is the royal seal of the Velustrian throne." Jinwoo looked at Lyra. She had turned her face away. "Is it true?" he asked. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she nodded slowly. "I am Lyra Velnastrith, third princess of the Velustrian sovereignty." Minho sat down heavily on the floor. "You brought royalty into your apartment. You saved a princess." "I saved someone who was dying," Jinwoo said. "I did not know she was a princess. Would it have mattered?" Lyra asked quietly. Jinwoo thought about it. "No," Lyra smiled, but it was a sad smile. "That is why I trust you. That is why I will tell you the truth." She told them everything. How members of her own court had tried to kill her. How her ship had crashed near the station 3 weeks ago. How her guards had died protecting her. How she had been hiding in the lower districts ever since, slowly freezing, because Velustrians needed heat that would kill most other species. "Why not go to your embassy?" Minho asked. "They would protect you." "The embassy is compromised," Lyra said. "The ones who want me dead have people everywhere. I cannot trust anyone from my own kind. Not until I know who sent the assassins." "And this glowing mark?" Jinwoo asked. "It is my royal seal. It cannot be removed or hidden. It marks me as part of the ruling family. It is why they can track me." Before anyone could respond, the door exploded inward. 3 figures rushed in, weapons raised. They were not human. One looked like a giant insect with armor plating. Another had 6 arms and a face like a shark. The third was covered in thick fur and had claws as long as knives. "The princess," the insect creature hissed. Finally, Jinwoo moved without thinking. He threw himself between Lyra and the hunters. The insect creature laughed. "Foolish human, move aside." "No." The shark-faced hunter raised his weapon. "Then die with her." Jinwoo grabbed the cooking unit and threw it at the nearest hunter. It was a useless gesture, but it bought him a second. His mind raced. His apartment was old, built during the station's early construction. The electrical systems were exposed, running along the walls in protected conduits. Protected, but not perfectly sealed. Jinwoo dove for the wall panel he had been meaning to repair for months. The one with the loose cover. He ripped it open and grabbed the exposed wires. "Minho! The water pipe!" Minho understood instantly. He kicked the water recycling pipe that ran along the floor. It cracked, and water began spraying out. Jinwoo touched the wires together. Sparks flew. The water on the floor conducted the electricity. The hunters wore metal armor and carried electronic weapons. The electrical surge hit them like a hammer. The lights in the apartment went out. The hunters screamed. Their weapons sparked and died. Their armor systems failed. "Run!" Jinwoo shouted dot. He grabbed Lyra, wrapping the thermal blanket around her. Minho was already at the emergency exit, a maintenance tunnel that Jinwoo had discovered months ago. They ran into the darkness, leaving the stunned hunters behind. They ran through tunnels that smelled like oil and old metal. They ran until their lungs burned and their legs shook. Finally, they stopped in a junction where 3 tunnels met. "They will come after us," Lyra said. "They will not stop until I am dead." "Then we do not stop running," Jinwoo said. "Not until we find somewhere safe. Why are you doing this?" Lyra asked. "I am nothing to you. Just a stranger you found in the cold." Jinwoo looked at her. In the dim light of the tunnel, her silver eyes seemed to glow. "You are not nothing," he said simply. "No one is nothing." Minho pulled out his datapad. "I know where we can go. The human quarter has a community center. Hidden place. They help people who have nowhere else to turn." "Will they help an alien?" Lyra asked. "They help anyone who needs it," Jinwoo said. "That is what humans do." They continued through the tunnels. Behind them, somewhere in the darkness, the hunters were recovering. The chase had only just begun, but Jinwoo was not afraid. He had saved Lyra once. He would save her again. As many times as it took, the community center was hidden behind a false wall in the deepest level of the human quarter. Minho knocked in a specific pattern, and the wall slid open. Inside, the space was larger than Jinwoo expected. Lights hung from the ceiling, and dozens of humans moved around, talking, working, helping each other. A woman approached them. She was older, maybe 50, with gray hair tied back and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She looked at Jinwoo, then Minho, then Lyra. "You brought trouble," she said. It was not a question. "We brought someone who needs help," Jinwoo replied. The woman studied Lyra for a moment. "Velustrian, royal, by the looks of that mark. And someone wants her dead, or you would not be here." "You are correct about everything," Lyra said quietly. The woman smiled. "I am Yuna. I used to be a diplomat before Earth's government collapsed and left us all stranded out here. Now I run this place. We help humans survive in the lower districts. But we also help anyone who needs it, regardless of species." She turned and called out, "Doyan, get over here." A young man looked up from a computer terminal. He was thin, with nervous energy that made him move quickly. He came over, pushing his glasses up his nose. "This is Doyan," Yuna said. "Best data specialist in the lower districts. Maybe the best on the whole station." "What do you need?" Doyan asked. "Information," Jinwoo said. "About who is hunting her and why." Doyan looked at Lyra with interest. "Give me an hour. I can hack into station security and see who has been asking questions." While Doyan worked, Yuna took them to a back room. "She needs heat. Velustrians cannot survive in our normal temperatures." "The thermal blanket helps," Lyra said. "Not enough. You need proper heating." Yuna called out to others in the center. "Taeyang, Minji, bring the emergency heating units." Within minutes, humans were working together. They brought old heating units scavenged from broken ships. They wired them together with spare cables. They built a small heated room using insulated panels from destroyed cargo containers. Jinwoo watched in amazement. These people had nothing, but they gave everything. Lyra sat in the heated room, and for the first time since Jinwoo had found her, she looked comfortable. The pale blue of her skin brightened slightly. She smiled. "I have never seen anything like this," she said. "Strangers working together to help someone they do not know. This is what humans do," Yuna said. "When we have nothing, we share nothing together. It makes us stronger." Doyan came running into the room, his face pale. "I found something. It is bad." Everyone gathered around his datapad. The screen showed files marked with the highest security clearance. The assassination order did not come from Velustrian political rivals, Doyan said. "It came from the Galactic Commerce Federation," Lyra gasped. "That is impossible. The Federation is supposed to be neutral. They regulate trade across all systems." "Not anymore," Doyan said. "Look at these files." They have been manipulating trade routes for years, making certain species rich and others poor. And they have been doing it on purpose. He showed them more files. Trade agreements that made no economic sense. Routes that avoided certain sectors. Tariffs that destroyed entire economies. Why would they do this? Jinwoo asked. Control, Yuna said quietly. If you control who has money and who does not, you control everything. Lyra stared at the screen. My mother. The Queen. She was investigating trade irregularities. She found evidence of this conspiracy. And I have the proof she gathered on my ship's data core. Where is your ship? Minho asked. Crashed in the station's outer ring, in the debris field where they dump broken vessels. That is why they want you dead, Doyon said. You are the only one who can access that data. Without you, the evidence dies. Jinwoo understood now. This was bigger than one princess. This was about the future of countless species, including humanity. If the Federation could be exposed, trade could become fair again. Humans could have a real chance at prosperity. We need to get that data, he said. Impossible, Minho said. The outer ring is guarded, and the hunters are looking for us. Then we fight, said a new voice. Everyone turned. A woman stood in the doorway. She was tall and muscular, with scars on her arms. Her name was Hana, and Jinwoo knew her reputation. Former soldier. Fought in the colony wars before coming to the station. You want to fight trained mercenaries? Yuna asked. I want to fight for something that matters, Hana said. I am tired of hiding. Tired of surviving. If we can expose the Federation, we can change everything. Not just for us, but for everyone. Other humans in the center were nodding. Jinwoo saw the determination in their eyes. These were people who had been pushed down, forgotten, left to die in the lower districts. But they were not broken. They were ready to stand up. You would fight for me? Lyra asked, her voice shaking. Risk your lives for someone you just met? We fight for what is right, Yuna said. That is worth more than safety. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the center. Doyon checked his datapad. They found us. The hunters. They are coming. How many? Hana asked. 12, maybe more. They have military weapons. Yuna started giving orders. Everyone who cannot fight, go to the emergency tunnels. Hana, get the weapons we have. Doyon, shut down all non-essential power. Give us darkness. Jinwoo looked at Lyra. You need to hide. No, she said firmly. I am tired of hiding. These people are fighting for me. I will not abandon them. If you die, the evidence dies with you. Then make sure I do not die. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting red shadows. Jinwoo could hear sounds in the distance. Heavy footsteps. Metal scraping against metal. The humans took positions throughout the center. They had makeshift weapons, tools turned into clubs, electrical cables that could shock, compressed air guns from ship repair kits. Nothing compared to military weapons, but they had something else. They knew every corner of this place, every hiding spot, every tunnel, every weak point in the structure that could be exploited. The first hunter broke through the false wall. Hana was waiting. She hit the creature with a charged electrical cable, and it fell screaming. The second hunter was smarter. It hung back, firing into the darkness. But its shots hit walls and pipes, not humans. Minho released a cargo net from the ceiling. It fell on 3 hunters at once, tangling their weapons and armor. Other humans rushed in with clubs, disabling them before they could break free. But there were too many. More hunters poured in. They were professionals, trained killers. The humans were fighting well, but they were being pushed back. Jinwoo grabbed Lyra's hand. We need to go. Now. They ran toward the emergency tunnel, with Minho and Hana covering their escape. Behind them, the battle raged. Humans fought with courage and intelligence, but courage could not stop bullets forever. They reached the tunnel entrance. Jinwoo pushed Lyra inside. "Keep going," he said. "Follow the tunnel to the transport level." "What about you?" Lyra asked. "I am coming. I just need to help them escape." But before he could turn back, an explosion rocked the center. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Smoke filled the air. Through the chaos, Jinwoo saw hunters advancing on the wounded humans. He made a choice. He ran back into the smoke, toward his people, toward the fight that could not be won, but had to be fought anyway, because that was what humans did. Jinwoo pulled Yuna from under a fallen beam. She was bleeding but alive. Around them, the battle had reached a desperate point. The hunters were everywhere now, their weapons lighting up the smoke-filled center with deadly fire. "Fall back," Hannah shouted. "Everyone to the tunnels." The humans retreated in organized groups, covering each other. They moved like they had practiced this, though they never had. It was instinct, the human ability to adapt and survive even in the worst situations. Jinwoo helped Yuna into the tunnel where Lyra and Mino waited. More humans poured in behind them. Hana came last, firing a compressed air gun at the pursuing hunters. Then she sealed the tunnel entrance with a welding torch, buying them precious minutes. "How many did we lose?" Yuna asked, breathing hard. 3 injured, none dead," Hana reported. "We were lucky." "Lucky?" Yuna laughed bitterly. "They will cut through that seal in minutes." "Where do we go now?" "The diplomatic docking bay," Minnow said. "It is our only chance. If Lyra can reach her people's ship, she can call for help." "That is 6 levels up," Doyon said. "Through the most heavily monitored sections of the station. Then we take the service corridors," Jinwoo said. "I know a path. I used to work maintenance in that sector." Lyra stepped forward. "You have already risked so much. I cannot ask you to do more." "You are not asking," Jinwoo said. "We are choosing. Now move before they break through." They ran through the tunnels, the injured supported by the strong. Dayan used his datapad to hack security cameras, giving them safe routes. But the hunters were smart. They cut off escape paths, forcing the group to take longer, more dangerous routes dot in a narrow corridor. 3 hunters ambushed them. Hannah fought like a demon, but there were too many. Jinwoo grabbed a pipe from the wall and swung it at the nearest hunter. The creature blocked easily and threw him against the wall. Pain exploded in Jinwoo's side. Lyra screamed. She touched the wall, and her royal mark began to glow brightly. The metal around her hand started to melt from intense heat. She pulled a piece of molten metal free and threw it at the hunter. It hit the creature's armor, burning through instantly. "I did not know you could do that," Minnow said, amazed. "Velustrians control heat," Lyra said. "But it drains me quickly." They kept moving. Jinwoo's side hurt badly, but he did not stop. 2 more levels. Then 1. They were close to the diplomatic bay. That was when they reached a section with no way forward. The corridor ended in a sealed blast door. Security level maximum. "I can hack it," Doyon said, pulling out his tools. "But I need 5 minutes." "We do not have 5 minutes," Hana said. She was looking back, the way they came. "I can hear them coming." Jinwoo sat down heavily, his hand pressed against his injured side. It came away red with blood. Lyra knelt beside him. "You are hurt. I will be fine. Stop lying." Her silver eyes were filled with tears. "You are bleeding badly. You need medical help. Later, after we get you to safety." Lyra pulled his hand away from the wound and placed her own hand there. Her palm felt hot, almost burning. But the pain in Jinwoo's side began to fade. He looked down, and saw the bleeding had stopped. The wound was being sealed by her heat. "You are using your strength to heal me," he said. "You used everything you had to save me," Lyra replied. "It is only fair." "Got it," Doyan shouted. The blast door opened. They rushed through into the diplomatic docking section. The area was pristine, nothing like the dirty lower districts. Smooth metal walls, clean air, proper lighting. And at the far end, a beautiful ship that looked like it was made from crystal and light. The Velustrian diplomatic vessel. "There," Lyra pointed. "That is my people's ship." But between them and the ship stood the hunter commander, the insect creature from Jinwoo's apartment. It had brought the rest of its team. 12 hunters armed with military weapons blocked their path. "End of the run, little princess," the commander hissed. "Your human pets cannot save you now." Hannah raised her weapon. "Then we die fighting." "No," Lyra said. She stepped forward. "This ends now. I will surrender. Just let them go." "Lyra, no." Jinwoo tried to move, but his injured body would not respond. "It is my choice," Lyra said. "They have sacrificed enough for me. I will not let them die." The hunter commander laughed. "Noble, but useless. We kill all witnesses. That is our contract." Before anyone could move, the Velustrian ship's doors opened. Bright light flooded out, and from that light came armed Velustrian guards in ornate armor. But there were humans with them too. Humans in merchant uniforms, carrying weapons and wearing expressions of determination. A Velustrian officer stepped forward. Her armor was decorated with the same royal seal that marked Lyra. "Princess Lyra," the officer said. "Your mother, the queen, sent us to find you. We have been searching for weeks." One of the humans, an older man with a merchant captain's badge, pointed at the hunters. "These are the ones working for the Federation?" "Yes," Lyra said. "Then we have a problem to solve." The captain raised his weapon. The other humans did the same. The hunter commander looked around nervously. "You cannot do this. We have diplomatic immunity." "You lost that when you attacked civilians," the Velustrian officer said. "Surrender or face justice." The hunters tried to fight. It was over in seconds. The Velustrian guards were trained warriors, and the human merchants fought with the desperate courage of people who had nothing left to lose. The hunters were overwhelmed and captured. Jinwoo sat against the wall, watching it all happen. His mind felt foggy from blood loss, even though Lyra had sealed his wound. Minho sat beside him. "We did it," Minho said. "We actually did it." Lyra came back to them, followed by the Velustrian officer. The officer looked at Jinwoo with respect. "You are the one who saved our princess." "I just did what was right," Jinwoo said quietly. "That is more than most would do." The officer bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "The queen will want to thank you properly." Lyra knelt in front of Jinwoo. "I told you about the evidence, the data from my ship. I need to broadcast it to the entire galaxy. Will you help me retrieve it? I thought you had guards now. You do not need me anymore." "I need you," Lyra said firmly. "Because you are the only one who helped when no one else would. Because you gave everything when you had nothing. That kind of person is who I want beside me when I change the galaxy." Jinwoo looked at his friends. Minho, who had brought him food. Yuna, who had opened her center to a princess. Hana, who had fought impossible odds. Doyan, who had hacked security to help strangers. All the humans who had risked everything for what was right. "Then we finish this together," Jinwoo said. The Velustrian officer ordered her guards to secure the area. The human merchants helped the injured. Medical supplies were brought from the ship. Jinwoo's wound was treated properly. As he sat there, bandaged and exhausted, Lyra placed something in his hand. A communication crystal glowing softly. "This connects directly to me," she said. "No matter where in the galaxy we are, we can talk. Because this is not over. Exposing the Federation is just the beginning." "What comes after?" Jinwoo asked. "We change everything. Make trade fair for all species. Give everyone a real chance." She smiled. "And we make sure the galaxy knows that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can save a princess and start a revolution." Jinwoo closed his hand around the crystal. Tomorrow they would retrieve the evidence. Tomorrow they would shake the foundations of galactic power. But tonight he just felt tired and grateful to be alive. Beside him, his fellow humans rested. They had won not because they were stronger or richer or more powerful. They had won because they refused to look away from someone who needed help. That, Jinwoo thought, was the real human strength. 3 days later, Jinwoo stood in the debris field where Lyra's ship had crashed. The Velustrian guards had secured the area, and engineers were working to access the data core. Around him, representatives from dozens of species watched on screens, waiting for the evidence that would change everything. Lyra stood beside him, dressed in royal robes now instead of torn fabric. She looked different, more regal, but her silver eyes still held the same kindness he had seen when he first found her. "Are you ready?" she asked him. "To change the galaxy?" "No, but we do it anyway." The engineers called out that they had accessed the data. Lyra walked forward and placed her hand on the core. Her royal mark glowed, and the data unlocked. Files and files of evidence streamed out, broadcast across every system in known space. Trade agreements designed to impoverish entire species. Secret meetings between Federation officials and corporate interests. Lists of bribes paid and threats made. The systematic destruction of fair trade over decades. It was all there, undeniable and complete. On the screens, Jinwoo watched reactions from across the galaxy. Shock, anger, demands for justice. Within hours, protests erupted on hundreds of worlds. Species that had been silent for years found their voices. The Galactic Commerce Federation's corruption was exposed for all to see. A week passed. Jinwoo spent most of it recovering in the medical bay of the Velustrian ship. His wound healed cleanly, though it would leave a scar. Minho visited every day, bringing news from the lower districts. The humans there were celebrating. For the first time in years, they had hope. On the 8th day, Lyra came to get him. "My mother has arrived. She wants to meet you." The queen of the Velustrian sovereignty was tall and imposing, with crystalline features that seemed to glow from within. She wore robes that shifted colors like flames. When she looked at Jinwoo, he felt like she could see every thought in his head. "You saved my daughter," the queen said. Her voice was like music and thunder combined. "You gave your last credit to buy her warmth. You risked your life to protect her. There are no words sufficient to express my gratitude." "I only did what anyone should do," Jinwoo said, "but most do not." The queen gestured, and attendants brought forward chests filled with glowing crystals. "These are thermal crystals, the most valuable resource in the sovereignty. Enough to make you wealthy beyond imagination. They are yours." Jinwoo looked at the crystals. Each one could buy a ship or a house or a lifetime of food. He could leave the lower districts forever. Live in comfort and luxury. "I cannot accept," he said quietly. The queen's expression showed surprise. "Why not?" "Because this is not why I helped her. I did not save Lyra for a reward." He thought about his friends in the lower districts, about all the humans barely surviving. "But if you truly want to thank me, I ask for 3 things. Name them." First, medical treatment for everyone who was injured protecting Lyra, especially Minho. He was hurt badly in the first fight. The queen nodded. "Granted immediately." Second, proper heating and living systems for the human quarter in the lower districts. Not just for me, but for everyone there. We should not have to freeze. This shall be done, the Queen said. And the third? Fair trade agreements for human colonies. Real fairness, not the false promises the Federation gave us. Let humans compete equally with all other species. The Queen was silent for a long moment. Then she smiled. You ask for nothing for yourself, only for others. This is rare, human Jinwu. Very rare. It is not rare for humans, Jinwu said. We take care of each other. That is who we are. Then I grant all three requests. But I add to them. The Queen raised her hand, and a pendant appeared in her paw. It bore the royal seal. I name you Friend of the Crown. This title carries diplomatic immunity across all allied systems. You may speak with my authority when seeking justice or aid, and the first establish a formal alliance between the Velustrian sovereignty and Earth's colonial government. News of the alliance spread quickly. Other species saw that the Velustrians, one of the wealthiest and most powerful civilizations, had chosen to ally with humanity. Not because humans were rich or strong, but because of what one human had done with nothing but compassion. More species reached out to Earth's representatives. Trade offers came. Technology exchanges. Cultural partnerships. The story of Jinwu spending his last credit on a freezing stranger became known across the galaxy. Some species found it hard to believe. Others saw it as proof that humans were different from the cold calculations that governed most galactic politics. A month passed. The lower districts were transformed. New heating systems kept everyone warm. Medical facilities treated the sick and injured for free. Trade ships arrived regularly with fair contracts and honest prices. The human quarter went from a place of desperation to a place of hope. Jinwu returned to his old apartment. It had been repaired and upgraded, but he had asked them to keep it small. He did not need luxury. Just a warm place to sleep and enough food to eat. He opened a workshop next to his apartment. He trained young humans in mechanical repair, passing on his knowledge. Yuna's community center expanded into a proper organization that helped not just humans, but any species in need. Hana started a security service, protecting those who could not protect themselves. Doyan worked with the station administration, making sure the lower districts got fair treatment. On a quiet evening, the communication crystal that Lyra had given him began to glow. Her face appeared in the light. Jinwu, she said, smiling, I wanted to tell you. I have been appointed my mother's chief diplomatic advisor. I will be working to establish fair trade routes for all species that were hurt by the Federation's corruption. That is good, Jinwu said. You will do well. I could not have done any of this without you. Without that moment when you chose to help instead of walking away. Her expression became serious. I have been thinking about that moment. You were starving. You needed that credit to survive. Why did you give it to me? Jinwu thought about it. He had asked himself the same question many times. Because looking away would have cost more than hunger, he finally said. It would have cost me the part of myself that I valued most. The part that believes people matter more than credits. If I had walked away, I would have survived. But I would not have lived. Lyra nodded slowly. My people measure wealth in thermal crystals and territory. We thought we understood value. But you taught me that humans measure wealth differently. You measure it in connections, in kindness, in the bonds between people. That kind of wealth cannot be stolen or lost. They talked for a while longer about the changes happening across the galaxy, about the new trade routes and alliances forming, about the future that seemed brighter than before. When the call ended, Jinwu walked to his wall where the old thermal blanket hung in a frame. He had kept it, the one he had bought for his last credit. It was worn and old now, but it represented something important, a reminder that the smallest choice could change everything. 3 months later, Jinwoo received an invitation. The Galactic Council was holding a special session. They wanted him to speak about human values and what they could teach other species. He stood before representatives of hundreds of worlds and told them the truth. He told them that humans were not special because they were strong or smart or wealthy. Humans were special because when they had nothing, they still found something to give. He told them about Minho bringing food when he could barely feed himself, about Yuna opening her center to anyone who needed help, about Hala fighting for justice when she could have stayed safe, about Doyan using his skills to protect strangers, about all the humans in the lower districts who chose compassion over cruelty, hope over despair. We do not always succeed, Jinwoo said. We fail often. We make mistakes, but we try. We choose to care even when it costs us. That is the human way. The council listened. Some species understood immediately. Others would take time to learn. But the seed was planted. The galaxy had seen that a human with 1 credit had changed everything by choosing kindness. Jinwoo returned to the lower districts, to his workshop and his friends. He returned to a life that looked simple from the outside, but was rich in the ways that mattered. Years later, when historians wrote about the fall of the corrupt Commerce Federation and the rise of a new era of fair trade, they would mark it as beginning with the exposure of evidence by Princess Laravel Nastreth. But those who knew the real story understood the truth. It began earlier, on a cold night in the lower districts, when a hungry human mechanic saw someone freezing and made a choice. He chose compassion over survival, connection over safety, hope over despair. He chose to be human. And that choice changed the galaxy.